The weight of the responsibility of achieving your dreams is too heavy for you to hold. Are you okay with living that way? Yo, 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 it's your boy D, and we are back at it again with another video. How to achieve your dreams using science. We're going to be talking about the 3 requirements that is absolutely necessary, that is crucial before you can even think about achieving your dreams. We are going to be talking about the scientifically proven step-by-step formula on how to do it. I'll give you guys an example from my own personal life. And then, finally, we'll talk about some pitfalls to watch out for. So the 3 requirements. Number 1, courage. Before anything else, you're gonna have to be courageous, and you're going to have to be able to believe. Are you willing to kill the current you to have room for the new you to grow into place? Are you willing to leave the comfort of who you are now for a potentially better future? And I use that word very specifically, potentially, because risk and reward are 2 sides of the same coin. Are you willing to accept that? In the same way that you could achieve everything that you could possibly want, are you willing to accept the other side of that coin of not being able to do it? Will you be able to live with yourself? Courage is the act of facing the fear. You will be scared, you will have fear, you will have doubts, but are you courageous enough to act nonetheless? Because if you weren't scared, if you weren't trying to challenge yourself, then it wouldn't be courage. And on top of that, none of this would be worth having. Your dreams wouldn't be worth having if it didn't take courage to have. So step 1, where the majority of the entire human population falls off, courage. Number 2, full accountability. 100% accountability. Can you accept that your life is the way it currently is solely because of you? And from now on, everything is also in your hands. Are you willing to accept that whatever has happened is because of you, and whatever is to come is also because of you? There is no one else to blame. You have to be courageous enough, step 1, to be able to accept the full accountability of taking control of your life. Are you willing to do that? Because what is the alternative? The alternative is giving away the power to change away to something else or someone else. Saying it's not my fault, it is this thing's fault, it is this person's fault. And that also is saying that I can't do anything about it. Because the fault is over there. I can't do anything about it. It's their fault. Is that a life that you want to live? Do you have the courage to be able to accept this accountability? So that's step 2. And then requirement number 3 is honesty and acceptance. Accountability without honesty is the same as navigating blind. To be able to change, you must know how things currently are. To be able to clearly see your current circumstances, you must be able to accept it as it is. You have to be able to see the entire battlefield. You have to be able to see the entire chessboard. Not certain bits of it, or not a version of it that is more likable in your own head. You have to see reality for what it is, and you have to be honest, and you have to be able to accept it. And not only do you have to accept it for what it is, you have to accept why it is what it is, which goes back to accountability. Everything is why it is because of you. Full accountability. So now that we've talked about the 3 requirements, which again, courage, full accountability, honesty, and acceptance, Now we could actually work on achieving and working towards achieving our dreams using the scientific method. Yes, that scientific method that you learned in middle school or high school or whatever could be used to improve your life in every single aspect. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll put it up right here. It's also going to be in our thumbnail, so you really can't miss it. And what are you going to do with this scientific method? You are going to objectively look at your current life and see if it is exactly how you wanted it to be. Is your life exactly how you envisioned it? Are you exactly who you want to be? If the answer is yes, then I don't even know why you're on this video. As a matter of fact, I really pray to God that you start posting videos so I can learn from you. I don't know a single person in my entire life who is perfect and who is completely, I wouldn't say happy, because everyone should be happy with their life, but there is no possible improvements that they want to make. And if the answer is no, like the rest of us humans, then we could use the scientific method, which is step 1, identify the problem. Step 2, gather the data. Step 3, form a hypothesis. Step 4, test your hypothesis. Jeez. I definitely should have brought water. And the last step, review your results. So let's talk about it. Step 1, identify the problem. If there is anything in your life that is not exactly how you want it to be, that is the problem, right? So for example, the example that we're going to be talking about is I really struggled approaching women and talking to beautiful women, grabbing their contacts or whatever, right? And I didn't like that about myself. I wanted that to change. So I identified the problem. Now you have to gather the data. You have to re-look at your past experiences to see why the problem is the way it is. Or at least try to hypothesize why the problem is the way it is. You see the problem, you have identified it, you've reflected back on your life. And a key trick that I like to use is I like to relive the experience. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it is imagining that memory so vividly. You are quite literally tricking your brain and your body into believing that you were actually there. If that sounds crazy, wait for the example that I'm going to talk about. It will make a lot more sense then, right? And now that you've gathered the data and you've identified the problem, you create a hypothesis on how to fix said problem, right? So you understand the what's, you're questioning the why, and now you're testing out if the why is the case, which is the next step. You test. You go out and you actually do. This is another very hard part that people get stuck at, is the action. People get stuck in this, what is that word called again? It was the analysis paralysis. That's the word. Words. People get stuck in this analysis paralysis, but they never do any action to actually change and shift their life to achieve their goals. And another thing that people do is they do, but they never reflect. And this is one of the most important parts of this scientific method. After you test out your new hypothesis, you have to review your results. You have to see if it is the results that you want. You have to see if that specific hypothesis is the reason why you got that result, or maybe it could be another factor, an unaccounted variable that you didn't know, that you didn't account for in your test. You have to think about all of these things, and they only come through reflection, reviewing what has happened, through in this process again of gathering data, of reliving your experiences after you tested, to see how can you improve, how can you get to the dream outcome that you want. So after you review your results, there's only two possibilities. One, you are happy with your results and you're happy with your hypothesis, right? That means that nothing else has to change for now. And what you do from there is you simply redo another test. You simply just live at this point. And if the results are the same every time, and the results are something that you want, and that is what you desire, and that is what you dream, then you have achieved your dream. You have finally achieved your dream using this scientific method. But if you haven't achieved your dream yet, if you are unhappy with the results, and if you realize that your hypothesis is wrong and needs tweaking, then you go back, you re-hypothesize. You wonder, okay, what was wrong about this hypothesis that I did not take into consideration that changed the outcome? What in my current view, what in my current perspective of reality needs to be shifted? Where is my paradigm wrong? Where am I not seeing reality for what it is? Then you create a new hypothesis on why that is the case. You test it, you run it back, and it's an infinite cycle until you get it right. So if this is sounding confusing, I'll go over an example right now. And this example, I guarantee a ton of you guys out there could totally relate. And my problem was, I could not talk to girls for the life of me. More specifically, I couldn't approach a girl. The talking itself, especially if it wasn't anything sexual, or if it was me not trying to grab their contact or show interest or anything like that, I didn't struggle with that. But it was the concept itself of approaching the woman. But let's talk about it. We're getting ahead of ourselves. So I identified the problem. I always back out. Let's use the word back. I was gonna use the P word, but can't use that in YouTube at least. I always back out when I see a pretty girl I want to approach. And I promise you, it was 100% chance of folding. I didn't even shoot a shot. I didn't even bother shooting the shot. I was that scared. It was some real fight or flight. My heart was like boom, 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 boom. Nervous. And I'll tell you a funny story later as we continue. So now, after I've identified the problem, I have to gather the data. Again, I reflected on my past experiences, and beyond that, I relived them. I reimagined me and the girls, or in this case, let's just say one girl, where the contact was made, like she made eye contact with me and she wanted me to shoot my shot, something like that. I literally relived the moment, and me sitting in my room, my heart started racing. My body went into fight or flight mode. Boom, 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 boom. And this is just me sitting in my room by myself. But if you are able to relive these memories and actually be honest, requirement number 3, this is where you get the most truthful data that could get you towards the closest and most truthful hypothesis that will get you to the closest results that you want. That is why honesty is so important. Right. So my hypothesis was, it's because I'm introverted. I'm not an extrovert, and I don't like talking to strangers. So that was my hypothesis, and this was back in, I would say, around March of 2024. So from March 2024 to November 2024 was my testing period. Yeah, it was a long test, but this is what it takes to create actual change. My test was to do extroverted stuff. I said I was an introvert and that was my problem. Okay, I'll do extroverted things. I'll do small talk with strangers, both guys and girls. I'll approach more girls and try to get their contacts. And that's exactly what I did. And then you review your results. So what happened? When not approaching with the intent of securing their contact or whatever, or showing interest, turns out I had no anxiety or fear. I had zero doubts of who I was as a person. I could confidently exert my existence when talking to strangers, specifically men, where I didn't even question it. Like of all ages, just because I'm used to talking with men of all ages, I don't question that. And for the girls, if I wasn't showing interest or if I didn't want your number or your contact, again, I wasn't scared. It was only specifically when I wanted to go up to a girl and grab her contact and show interest where I would get sent into that fight or flight mode. So that obviously told me my hypothesis about that introversion was wrong, because I was capable of doing extroverted things, but it was that one specific scenario that caught me up. So let's review the test again. So after I was unhappy with my results, now you have to form a new hypothesis on why. And my hypothesis at the time was, I just need to get more reps in. The prettier the girl, the better. So my test was to talk to at least 5 girls a day. Not just talk, but go out and try to get their contact. Or give them my contact. 5 a day. Because my idea was, I just needed the reps. Long story short, now we're reviewing the results. I was approaching these baddies, but the problem was now I was saying things that I thought they wanted to hear. And on top of that, I was extremely unnatural and uncomfortable, which made them uncomfortable. I would get stuck and lose my train of thought because I wasn't focused on them. I was focused on me. And this is the funny part about the fight or flight that I wanted to share with you guys. I swear to God, when I first started this, when I was like, I'm only going to be talking to baddies, one of the girls that I went up to talk to at the gym, I swear to God, like I lost vision in my eyes. My knees buckled and I felt like I was about to pass out. Dude, I lost vision. I felt my legs shake and I thought I was going to pass out. That's how bad it was. Yeah. So once you accept that reality, I had to be honest with myself. Like, okay, that did happen, and it's my fault that this happened. There's something wrong with me for even being this way, right? And now you have to form a new hypothesis because the results wasn't what you wanted, or in this case, it wasn't what I wanted. So I asked myself why. It was because I was putting these beautiful women on a pedestal. Again, you gotta get deeper. Why? It's because I valued physical attraction very, 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 very highly. Why? It's because I was a horny little shit who couldn't see girls for anything past their looks. Honesty, acceptance, accountability, the courage to say that. Why? I lacked substance myself. There is no depth to me, so just being pretty already put you above me in my head. This is why the honesty is so important. Are you courageous enough and honest enough to accept the full accountability of that statement? So this was my new hypothesis. Become a man of substance. So my test, focus on myself. Be a person who stands on my words. Keep promises with myself. I found my own moral compass and principles that I stand on no matter what. I found out who I was. Surprise, surprise. Test 2 in quotes. Now you get to talk to girls again. Which is what I do now. And the results? Natural. Confident. And the most interesting part that I really wanted to point out was I found my own unique style of talking to girls. At first, I would try to use lines that I've heard online. I would try to act very cocky and nonchalant. But turns out, after finding myself, it just comes out naturally. I just simply am. I used to quite literally fantasize about conversations that I might have with a girl when I'm coming to see her, or if I was to see her at that public place. Because I was just so delusional. But now I am the type of man that is confident in myself. I don't even allow myself to even think about a potential conversation because that already limits your creativity. So this is what I'm working on right now is if I make a plan with a beautiful girl or if I'm looking forward to see a girl that I see in public, then instead of fantasizing about what could happen, I block it off. I accept the fact that I am excited to see her. And I go fucking talk to her and I get to show her myself when I'm actually in front of her. And that only comes from becoming a man of substance, which was what I had to be honest with myself with. And that is why this is so powerful. After you identify the problem, again, You live through the experiences to create your hypothesis. You test out your hypothesis. You review what happened. And it's a never-ending cycle of being able to create a better version, excuse me, of the reality that you want to live in. Jeez, I definitely should have brought water. So, pitfalls to watch out for. Not being able to be honest with yourself and accepting why you got the result you got. If you can't transparently and authentically and objectively look at your results and review them properly, you would never be able to form a proper hypothesis. It's like the blind leading the blind. You don't know where you're going, so you just go somewhere. Yeah, you'll end up somewhere, but you won't end up where you want to go. So by not being able to accept the results, you're not being honest with yourself and accepting that the result is because of you, which goes back to requirement number 2, accountability. These are why the requirements are the requirements. They're all connected. Do you realize how many times I've said I since starting that example? Do you realize instead of blaming the girls, which would what a lot of guys do, they're like, it's this generation of girls, man, which is what I used to do. And then I grew a pair and realized that it was me and it was my fault. I lacked substance. That's why I couldn't bring out the best in these girls, because I can't even bring out the best in myself. If you're uncomfortable talking to a girl, of course she's going to be uncomfortable, because why would she be comfortable around an uncomfortable person? Right? And on top of that, like I said about blaming these girls, if I did blame them, which is what a majority of people do, like I said, it would be giving up the power to change up to those girls. Let's just say I feel lonely. I don't, but let's just say, oh, I feel lonely. I want a bunch of girls in my life, but it's their fault. They're all trash. So what does that mean? You'll always be lonely because you'll always think girls are trash. Instead, think, I am trash. Because if you think I am trash, you have the ability to change your reality, to achieve your dreams. And what does that take? Courage. Do you have the cojones to do that? Do you have the balls to do that? And this is why the requirements are the requirements, because they are the pitfalls. Without courage, there is no accountability. Without accountability, you can't be honest. But when you're honest, you can't hold accountability for why you got the results you got. And when you can't hold accountability, that shows that you don't have courage. You don't have what it takes to bear the responsibility. The weight of the responsibility of achieving your dreams is too heavy for you to hold. Are you okay with living that way? Only you could tell. And lastly, I just really wanted to point this out, guys. Failure isn't real until you quit. Just because your hypothesis is wrong does not mean you failed. In fact, you succeeded. You succeeded in finding the wrong way to do it. So you just never have to do it again. So no, you didn't fail. And above all, never forget, this is supposed to be fun. This is what is beautiful about life. This is how you improve every single aspect of your life and achieve all the things you want to achieve. Using science. Life is an experiment. You're the scientist. Thank you guys for watching. I spent a lot more time trying to script this one out, trying to think more coherently on what my videos were talking about. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for watching. You made it to the end. Thank you guys for existing. If you made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell. Let me know what you want to hear next. I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. Holla.